Hi, my name is Matt, and I'm a rising senior at Crystal Springs, and I just completed my third milestone for my project, the phone-controlled robot arm, which was to start adding the car and integrating it with the arm. And so I chose to make this my first modification because just looking at the robot arm and thinking about its uses and its applications, I thought that adding like a car to it and adding some extra mobility would really increase its usefulness and the amount of things it could do. And so the first step of this modification was to build the car chassis, which was fairly straightforward as how to put everything together. And the next step was a bit more complicated, which was to connect the arm to the car. And this was a bit more complicated because the two kits are not compatible at all. And basically they don't line up, and the holes on the chassis don't line up with the Arduino or the battery pack or anything really. And it also, the spacing just does not align very well. So the first step I had to do, or first part to this step, was to chop off the arm base. So I basically chopped the arm base here in half to create extra room because the back half was really not doing anything. And that was originally meant to have the Arduino attached to, but that's unnecessary now since I have the chassis to attach the Arduino to. And so after I had chopped off the back half of the arm base, I added a mini breadboard because the old breadboard would have taken up way too much space. And this breadboard kind of just slid very nicely into the middle of the chassis. And then I also ordered a bunch of extra bolts and nuts, which I used to fasten everything down. And I tried to really use the pre-existing holes, both to maintain the structure of the chassis, and also because I didn't want to drill a hole through some place where I would need to put like an electronic component. For example, I wouldn't want to drill a hole through under where I was going to put my mini breadboard and then have a nut sticking out under the breadboard because that would have made it much harder to fasten it down. And you can see how I kind of, I also used, like I tried to use one hole or one bolt to fasten multiple parts. For example, here on the motor driver, I use 2 bolts here that also come back up through. I'm not sure if you can see, but they also come back up through a hole in the robot arm base and also help fasten down the base. So after I finished connecting the arm to the car, I had to wire everything back up. So first I had to wire up the L298N motor driver, which you can see here is the red thing. And this controls the speed and direction of the 2 DC motors, which are the car motors. And it uses 2 H-bridge circuits to do this. And I'll go a bit more in depth on how the motor driver works in my paragraph. But basically it takes power from both the battery pack and the Arduino to be able to control the speed and direction of the motors. And I also had to rewire all of my servos and the Bluetooth module, which was actually a lot of fun because I already knew like the basic layout. So I just got to organize it all on the mini breadboard and make it much cleaner. And yeah, so that's the end of the physical kind of component of my first modification. The next step is to add the controls to my app that will control the car, and then also write the Arduino code for the car and the app controls, and then finally to test everything and make sure that my modification works.